Welcome to The Healthy Hustle, hosted by us. Our hope for this show is to create something we didn't have during the come up, a community that supports a balance of growth and feel good, rush and recharge. The magic is in the dichotomy. And holy smokes, did it take us a long time to figure that out. Learn from our missteps, grow with our advice, because the work doesn't have to hurt. This is The Healthy Hustle. Well, welcome to The Healthy Hustle. I'm Maribeth, and this is Mandy, and we are so excited for this today, our launch day. So exciting, and just to have so many friends and family and incredible people in the room tonight. So thank you all for joining us, and we are really excited about our guests today and just this podcast in general.
So excited. I think we have such a special guest joining us this evening. So happy to be able to welcome Emily Trapani. She's head of Quickfire, and she is here to share with us all her wisdom from her leadership experience. So Emily, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi, I'm Emily Trapani. I'm the head of sales at Quickfire. I've lived in Nashville about 12 years, worked at Google and Quickfire for the last 10 years. I'm married to David Trapani. He and I own a music studio together in town. And we have 4 children who are 12, 10, 7, and 4. So we're very busy. My hobbies are like kid sports and kid sports. These days, that's about it.
Yes, I can identify with that for sure. And I also identify with having 4 kids and just multiple things going on in life. And so I love that we get to hear from you today and just your experience. And one thing that really stood out to me when I just kind of read through some of what you care about is that you call yourself a connector.
Yeah.
Which I think is huge. And I'd love to know, what does that look like for you in your leadership role?
Yeah. I think I started my career in sales. I was in sales really early on, which, by the way, I think is like such a good career path for women, especially women, whether you want to start a family or have like anything else, you really can control your calendar and how much money you make. And it's very flexible. So for me, it allowed me to like grow my family and my career at the same time. But very early on, I didn't know what I was doing. And I'm like, I need to find people who like know the people I'm supposed to be talking to. And what that looked like was like finding, someone who's similar to me and going after maybe the same clients or the same like book of business, but selling something that I don't compete with. So early on, being a connector was like kind of networking with peers who could help me learn the business and decision makers and how things kind of worked without feeling like I was going after their piece of the pie. And then over time, it's evolved into like, anytime I meet somebody, like, what does success look like for you? What are you working on? And is there a way for that to align with something I'm also trying to accomplish? And then that way, collaboration often looks like I'm helping you get something done that you were going to do anyway. But at the same time, I'm also advancing when I'm trying to move forward. And it's just a more like approachable, less competitive kind of collaborative way to work. So with my team, we're always doing that. Like I have, all the leads that report to me have each a different sales channel that they manage. And anytime there's like a problem in the business we're trying to solve that may be singular, like one channel needs to work on, we work on it together. And I always say this is like a none of your business meeting. Like this is like none of your business. But sometimes the idea comes from somebody that doesn't look at it every day with blinders on. So like I also often say, these are like Emilyisms, good ideas come from anywhere, So it's not always the person that's the expert in the thing that knows the thing to solve the problem, because if they did, we wouldn't have the problem, So like the none of your business meeting and like bring people in that don't normally work on something is often, it's connecting, but it's also, moving the business forward in that way.
That's so good. Like, I love your philosophy on pulling and gleaning from others, being able to shape and make people feel empowered to make decisions.
Yeah.
And what I noticed about your experiences when reading through who you were and what you're all about. I love that you had said every role you've had at Google has shaped you. And so you're never asking people to do something that you wouldn't do. So can you tell us a little bit about that journey and how it's shaped who you are as a leader now?
Yeah. So I started as a sales rep at Google, also at Quickfire. And it is true. Like every single role that reports to me, which is all of the sales channels for the Southeast, from rep to manager, lead, like all the layers, there's not a single role or channel where I wasn't the rep, the lead, the supervisor, the channel leader, like at the city level or at the enterprise level. And this role I didn't like apply for. It wasn't even really on my radar. I didn't realize all those things till kind of after I was asked to step into this role. But having that experience means that I can like credibly talk to my team about what they're doing, what they're asked to do, and then also go do it myself, which I still do. Like we have a whole sales team that does door-to-door sales. You may know them. They'll knock on your door and tell you good news. You can sign up for Quickfire, right? I'll go with them in the field and like knock on the door too. Like they don't know it's me that is like the boss coming. It's like very undercover boss kind of vibes. And it's really fun. Like we make a competition out of it. Some of it's also for street cred because I'm like, I can do this and I'll show you how. And I do, you know, but it's also like the information that I can learn from just doing the job that they're asked to do every day is so different than what I would get in like a report or on a slide. And sometimes you get to a point in leadership where people don't want to tell you not pretty stuff, you know, and I want to know all this not pretty stuff. I can't help make a decision or change something if I don't know what's happening. So part of having the experience is also knowing that I can go do it and be kind of get the street cred, be with them in the field, but also see everything firsthand. So I try to make a point to do that. I try to do it like once a quarter with each sales channel. I'll go and actually do the job that they're doing. And there's never once been a time that wasn't like information for me that I would never have otherwise understood. And it allows me to prioritize things or even stuff that like, you know, people on my team might not ask for, or they think it's a really big deal. It's like an immediate yes, it's something easy I can do. And that, I know that because I've been in the situation as a rep, feels so good that somebody heard you and solved your problem right away. So I really enjoy kind of, first of all, it's great to be able to say like, I know what you're talking about. I've done it myself. So like, I know what you're talking about, you know, you kind of have that like level of kind of credibility, but also you can make decisions better because you can kind of understand how everything kind of works together.
I love that. I love the humility that's in that, you know, and really true leadership, right? Being able to serve people. Another thing that you said was that there's a different energy sort of in each of the different markets that you serve. And a lot of our listeners may not have a role like you. Some of them may, but some of them might have like, you know, maybe they're an influencer or maybe there's somebody who's growing a small team or a small business and they're just getting started. So I'd love for you to talk to us a little bit about what it looks like practically to kind of work with different groups of people that have their own personality.
Okay. I work with a lot of engineers also. And like, I don't really give the vibe, you know, like they're like, sometimes like, this is the Sheldon Cooper that's like following everything in the right order. I also manage an operations team. And I'm also someone who's like, if the rule's stupid, don't follow the rule. We'll have a new rule. And that like scares the crap out of operations people because they're just like, what's the next step? So like, part of this is like, yes, each market and each team has a different rhythm or energy, but it's also like every audience does too. Every person that you lead is different. So something that I like to keep in mind is like, it's almost like translating what you're trying to say, not by what you're trying to say, but who is intended to hear it. And this works in sales. It's like mirroring, like you're using language the person you're talking to is using, or you say it back to them. But it's also a way to communicate with all different types of people, like working with engineers, different salespeople, people who it's their very first job or who are like on the kind of sunset of their career. Whatever you're trying to say and the message you're trying to get across, it doesn't matter what you say, it matters what they hear. So I think a lot of the effort or the energy that I spend is like translating what I'm trying to get across based on the audience or the market that they're in or the moment in time, and just kind of making sure that it's being heard. And this goes back to the connector thing, like asking somebody like, how are you measured? What does success look like for you? And then framing what you're doing together in that context. It's understood so differently than if it was just by your own framework or what you're trying to do. And I think in leadership, it's very rarely, no one even cares what I'm trying to do or like what my goal is. It's like, what's in it for them or how does it impact them? So you really have to kind of adjust to the energy or the kind of situation, but also it's even more granular than that. It should kind of be like adjusting your communication style to the person that you're speaking to and how they are going to hear whatever messages that you're sharing.
I love that. I think it's such great advice because when you're connecting with people, it's a relationship that you're building. And I love how you'll go out and do the job with them. So that's building such a deep respect where you have the ability then to read into what their needs are and to be able to communicate that message to them. Yeah. So I feel like that is so spot on. And to be keeping that relationship priority is huge with what you're doing.
I also learned this because I was really bad at it, by the way.
Tell us more.
Isn't something that's like super easy. Like what would happen is I would find out, like, I said that, like, how I wrote that, I said it, I did it. Like, they did not, like, it was over time kind of learning what I said wasn't what was heard, or this, like, the unspoken things you say, your kind of body language, or going too fast for some people. Like, the hardest thing for me is to like go, like, slow down enough, like slow down to go fast. Like, if you can slow down enough to bring everybody along with you, there's like less cleanup after the fact, whatever it is. And it's not easy for me to do that. So I think that's one of the skills that's been learned by like being really bad at it. And it's still something that takes like a lot of energy for me to have to consciously remember to work on. But it's also something that I kind of share with my team transparently, that like, I am bad at this. Like, hold a mirror up to me if I'm not, you know, kind of doing this the right way, but it's a weakness, I would say, of mine.
A humility again, though, to recognize that. So just off the cuff, was that your own awareness, self-coaching, or did somebody point it out to you that like, hey, maybe this isn't your strength?
Probably both. I think like it's something like, again, it's something I'm still like working on. I think the self-awareness, anytime something doesn't go the way I expect, I'm always kind of editing the process. It never occurs to me that something won't work out, or I won't achieve something or do something I'm trying to do. But the reason for that is like in real time, as things are not going the way I expect, I'm constantly like editing. So I'm very conscious of like, how can I do things differently? What can I change? Whatever the case may be. But I also have a lot of people who I trust and ask for feedback, who I have, and you know, when you work somewhere a really long time, there's also that like relationship with people who will tell you the truth. And I know who those people are. So having kind of debrief sessions, like this didn't go the way I expected, or I'm having kind of, you know, whatever conflict that was it's always a surprise, you know, like if it wasn't, then you wouldn't have done it that way on purpose anyways. So whenever I'm like surprised by a reaction or surprised by an outcome, I look for feedback. There's people that I'll go to and ask for coaching, but I'm also very aware of it myself, I think, in the moment.
It's just so great because in sales, you have a lot of time by yourself, right? So that self-coaching skill is huge.
Yeah.
So with all those things, you know, you're a hustler, you get things done, you are a mom, you're juggling lots. Talk to us a little bit about boundaries and your ambition. How do you juggle all the boundaries? How do you juggle ambition and still keeping goals a priority while you're not letting everything fall?
Yes. Also something I'm still working on. I think my husband would want me to have even more boundaries. Like, I say yes always. I always come from a place of yes. I want to say yes to everyone, and you can't. And like saying no to things, it just like physically, I don't want to do it. I want to be able to do everything. So one of the things I've learned over time is like, you can't say yes to everything. You can't, like, if everything is a priority, nothing is a priority. And that is, if you want to make everyone happy and be all things to everyone, that's hard. Once I had children, though, it's a lot easier. Like, there's not a question about what my priorities are, which is my family first, my marriage, and my kids. And so part of like, I don't think there's balance. I think it's actually kind of like not so nice when people talk about it in terms of balance, because you immediately picture like this scale and like, if this is more, then this is less. And like, that's not really it. To me, it feels like integration, where like your career should serve the goals you have for your life and your family. And then similarly, the decisions you make for your family should also be in support of the things you want to do. Whether you have a career and you want to do like kickball and happy hour and like get a dentist appointment at 2 p.m, or you have a career and you want to have 4 children and all the sports and then be able to pay for all the sports, like all that, like it doesn't really matter what the other things are. Your career should be in service of what those things are. So one of the things I started doing very early on is not justifying my decisions. So I tell I think it's probably good information for anybody, but women, my most common advice is like, just say you're not available. Don't say why. Because if you say why and you give a reason, then the person you're talking to is going to judge that like excuse by their own framework and their own priorities. And like, who cares? It's none of their business. Back to that, you know, like it doesn't matter if they thought it was a good idea. You did. And like, you're an adult. You're in charge. Your decision to make. So I will say things like, I'm unavailable. That could be because like on Tuesday, I was unavailable because I was with my 7-year-old for Thanksgiving at their school. I've never missed a field trip. I've never missed Thanksgiving lunch at school with my kids, but I don't know that anybody I work with knows that or needs to know that or cares. It's just like, it doesn't matter. I'm unavailable. I was in a meeting, or I'm unavailable. I was at 7-year-old lunch at school. So part of the boundaries is just deciding what is important and then making decisions and being true to that. And then you have to be responsible. Like if you're taking an hour in the middle of the day to go to lunch with a 7-year-old, you're probably going to have an hour at 4 o'clock or 6 o'clock or whatever to catch up. But I think that the boundary setting is really just not feeling like you owe anybody an explanation except for yourself.
So good.
That's good. Okay. So one thing that you said that I loved was you ask for support and not permission. And I'd love for you to frame this just specifically as a woman, like just what it's like to be in your role as a woman. Like I can only imagine that maybe it's kind of, you're blazing a new trail in some ways, but like, talk to us about that. And you kind of you hinted at it. So this is the perfect next question, but you hinted at it because you were just kind of talking about how like we, especially as women, want to like explain away and like give excuses. And we can't just say no, or I'm unavailable. Many times we do want to like substantiate, but So as it relates to support, not permission.
Yeah. I think early on, I started to realize, and I told you guys a little bit of this story, but I was pregnant when I applied to the role at Google. And I didn't tell anybody I was pregnant. My daughter, it was 3 days before I had my daughter that I had my first like phone screens. And 3 days after she was born was my first like interview, which is also by phone. And then like 5 weeks later was like the in-person interviews. And by the way, that was the only pregnancy that I would have been able to hide. I would have very obviously had just had a baby with the other 3, but this one, luckily, like you couldn't tell. So I didn't tell anybody. And so I got hired and I started working and I had this moment where I had to finally kind of like come out of the closet. Like I have a newborn baby. I'm breastfeeding. This is terrible. And I don't recommend it. And like in retrospect, I wish I had told people earlier. But at that time, I remember like if I had asked for what I needed, like nobody would have been able to tell me like that. No one else knows what you need but you. So very early on, I didn't say anything. And then I just immediately pivoted to, I have an infant. I'm breastfeeding. Okay, well, what would make this easier? What can we do for you? They're asking me. And I'm realizing like, holy shit, nobody knows what's going on around here. Nobody else is in charge. I am. And like at the time, I'm a sales rep. I wasn't the boss of anybody but myself. But that mentality kind of carried me through the rest of my career, which is like, I know what I need. And you all do too. You do know what you need. So rather than asking somebody for permission for that, just say what it is and then how can they support you? And never once has it ever been an issue or anyone's argued with me about any of it. It's been, you make it very easy for your manager or whoever to support and to say yes if you don't ask a yes or no question. So it'd be very much like the travel rules is a good example. I've never done 2 trips in a row without 3 weeks in between. And I don't know that that's a rule that I actually had verbalized until I started talking about it to other women, but nobody asked me about it. And it only came up once where there was like 2 trips, 2 weeks in a row. And I just require recovery time between trips because it's crazy for my kids. It's costing $1 million to have a nanny. Like my husband's like, what are you live here? Where are you going? I just started like making those own rules for myself. And finally there was a conflict. There was 2. And instead of going to my manager and saying, hey, there's these 2 trips. I can only go on one. I'm not going to go on 2. I just said, there are 2 trips. I need to prioritize one. I'm doing one remotely. Which would you like me to prioritize? So it wasn't a yes or no question. It was very easy for him to be like, this one, not that one. Great. I'm going to do this one remotely. Okay. I'm going to email them that I'm going to be remote for the second one. I'll copy you. Can you let them know that you've approved it? And that was it. And I don't know that this isn't like precedent setting or like other people and we need permission. Like that's what I mean. Like nobody even asked me. And I think anyone else who had like a valid reason. And of course, I was doing the other one. I have Google Fiber. I can do it remotely. I got Wi-Fi. Like what do I need to be there for? So I just think if it makes sense, why wouldn't somebody give you what you need so that you can continue to participate and also take care of what else, you need to do in your life?
Such good advice. I love that you're asking for support, not permission. So it's something like bullets. You're making some really good notes here for everybody to really take home with them. So, all right. So let's talk Quickfire.
Okay.
Your favorite coffee order?
Alani.
Ooh, I love it. Non-coffee. So outside the box thinker here. I love it.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
the new Christmas flavor is like amazing. I think it's sugar plum.
Okay.
Highly recommend. Yeah.
Sounds yummy. All right. So here's my next one. What's your leadership pet peeve?
people that bring problems and don't have any suggestion for a solution. I'm like allergic to it, you know. Like I'm down to hear the problem, but like, and then what? Right. I always say to my team, like, what's the verb? What's the verb? Like, what are we gonna do about it? Like, I don't want to just hear all the details about like what's going wrong. That's great, but like, you obviously know everything that's going wrong. So like, now what? Like, give me 2 or 3 options or like something to go forward with. I think otherwise, just the complaining feels very defeatist. So I like identify any problem you want, but and then what?
That's good. Okay, so tell us what your next big goal is.
I think like, okay, so Thanksgiving is next week, right? And I frame my like biggest goal is that in 20 years and 30 years, I have Thanksgiving in my house and the table is full. And like my kids want to come home and they bring their friends with them or whoever. And it's like fun. And like my house already looks like a Home Alone 1 or 2, like the scene when they're rushing, like that's just the baseline. So we have that, but like I want them to want, like they live there. They're like little kids. I want them to want to come home and come back. And like, so I'm always picturing like I'm architecting their childhood memories. Like I say that all the time. So that's my biggest goal. All this other stuff is like fun, you know, and I pick things at work that are fun and challenging. I'm always chasing like the hardest problem or a dumpster fire. Like I love a mess to figure out. But the ultimate goal is that when I'm like retired and I have Thanksgiving, that everyone wants to come back. So I think that would be how I would judge, I think, success for myself.
I love that. And I think you're giving permission right there for women to have goals outside of their career and to really keep family a priority too. So that's so good. So what advice do you have for that woman out there that's thinking, gosh, like I need to do this, but I don't have my footing yet. I have this big goal, but I have no idea where to start.
Just start. You won't. You never will. Like you will waste so much time waiting for everything to be perfect. It's never going to look good on paper. If you just say to yourself, like, everything has worked out so far. I have figured it out every time until now, which is true. So just go do it. And also, no one else knows what the hell they're doing anyway. It is a scam. Like, there's nobody that knows what's going on. Everyone's like pretending. So if you just act like you know what you're doing, people will believe you. So just do that.
Love it.
I love it.
So fun.
Well, thank you so much,
Thank
Emily.
you.
This was wonderful. You shared so many amazing tips and thoughts, and just I love how you think and how you lead. So thank you so much.
Compliment. That's my favorite compliment. Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can we give her a hand?
When you're grinding from dawn to done because your vision demands it, your body needs more than motivation. It needs real health infrastructure. That's why the Healthy Hustle is powered by Immunitech, a leader in immune health research for over 4 decades. With patented science focused on glutathione production, the body's master antioxidant, Immunitech delivers clean label, vegan-friendly support for your immune system, energy, recovery, and overall performance. So whatever your training session, pitch meeting, or creative sprint looks like, trust your body to keep pace. Because the hustle doesn't wait and your health can't either. Visit Immunitech.com and take command of your immune advantage. Immunitech, the science of living better.
Welcome back to the Healthy Hustle. I'm Mandy and this is Maribeth, and we are so excited to have you join us today. And we have a really special guest in store. We have Dr. Mae, and she is an incredible, well-respected practitioner of health. And I'll just let her tell you a little bit about herself. So Dr. Mae, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. We're excited to have you here. We just love to hear a little bit about you. So tell us all about yourself.
So I'm a pelvic floor physical therapist. I have my doctorate in pelvic floor physical therapy. And I'm a mom of 2, soon to be 3. Got a little third one in the way. And I'm also the founder of Movement Through Motherhood, which is a pelvic floor fitness app that helps women move through pregnancy, postpartum, and every stage after that.
Love it so much. Okay, so I know that you had practiced with within a group before, and then you decided to go out and build your own. So what inspired you to make that shift to build your own business?
Yeah, so I originally honestly wanted nothing to do with the pelvic floor. When you're in PT school, it's kind of the joke of like, oh, who's going to go into the pelvic floor like space? Like, not going to be me. I'm not doing that. And so I wanted to work in sports. I always played sports in high school, played club volleyball when I went to Vanderbilt, and really saw myself doing that. And so I did residency. So pretty much the path for PT school, for people who don't know, you do, undergrad, then 3 years of your doctorate program. And then I did a year and a half residency for sports, working with high level athletes here in Nashville. And I was working with some young females, specifically in college, who were dealing with things like incontinence. And I knew from PT school that, after you've had children, maybe you might work with women who are experiencing leakage or anything like that. But I was like, these girls are like 19 years old. What is going on? And so at that point, I was pretty much, okay, if I want to be the best physical therapist for females, then I've got to dive deep into the pelvic floor. And then once I started the continuing education for that, I was like, okay, it's not as bad as people think it is. Like, it's actually like, it's really not that bad. And so many women need it that it ended up being something that I felt passionate about because so few practitioners wanted to do it. So many women needed pelvic floor help. And that's kind of just how I fell into it. And I absolutely love it.
I love it.
Absolutely
You accidentally found your niche.
Yeah, accident. It was very much on accident, but I love it.
That's awesome. Okay. So, the women's health space is more competitive probably than it's ever been before.
Yes.
But I'm curious, how did you build trust and credibility while also growing your business and your incredible platform and everything else you're doing?
I honestly think it's because it was a bit of an accident. I didn't come into it being like, I'm going to build this huge social media presence and this fitness app with tens of thousands of women on it. I didn't go into it thinking that was the plan. It was really just, I want to help women and I'm going to share as much free content on the internet that I can't find, because I also got pregnant at that time. So I was searching for information for my own self. And I couldn't find as much information open to the public other than, my continuing education courses. And so I just wanted to get the information out there to people. And it kind of just naturally grew into what it is. And I think because it just happened so naturally without this end goal in mind of this, massive business, I think that's really what helped people see, okay, she wants to help people first and foremost. The business kind of just was an afterthought that followed.
That's so good. And I hope if you're listening right now, that is such a lesson we all need to just hear and hear over again. And there's that quote that says, if you help enough people get what they want, you get what you want, so you came to it from a genuine place of how do I help women?
Yeah.
And then you just started, at it, and it's been incredible. The amount of people you've been able to influence, impact, help is amazing. So, okay. As your platform grew, how did you make sure your own health didn't get pushed aside also while running your company?
I mean, the best answer would be, I took perfect care of my health. But honestly, I didn't. There's so many times that I was up late with a newborn while also trying to write a blog post or a social media post or film, a workout for the app or something like that. So I think there's a lot of pressure on people in the fitness world, especially who run businesses based off of maintaining yourself to maintain their own health. But it's sometimes unrealistic to have the perfect morning routine or have the perfect health, lifestyle. I of course try my best, and that is what my business is built on. But I think it's also unrealistic and unrelatable to be like, I do the red light therapy. I drink all of the drinks and, I'm hitting my 30 minutes of strength training and my cardio every single day with 3 kids. I think that's very unrealistic and unrelatable. So in terms of how did I take care of myself, I think after a little bit, if you neglect yourself, it starts to show in your business and how you're showing up with your family. So you naturally have to take note within yourself of, okay, I'm not able to think clearly. I'm getting upset about things that I shouldn't. I'm not being a great mom. What is going on? And it's usually because my health has fallen to the wayside. But I truly think that, 30 minutes 4 times a week is a sweet spot for women who are trying to just stay active, whether they're running a business or just being moms or going through life, rather than feeling like I have to do this 7 days a week. Every day has to be perfect. I think, 4 days a week, if you can be on top of your game, something is better than nothing.
I love that. Yeah. And I think women find themselves chasing perfection all the time, right? And I think when we do that, it's easy to feel like we're failing because it's just not attainable. Perfection
100%. Yes.
So I know you mentioned your own warning signs of, how you feel with maybe off with your family and things. So what do you see are warning signs, those warning lights with women that are going off in their day to day when they're trying to achieve and do all the things? What do you think are the most ignored warning signs that you see?
I think from an internal perspective, definitely like the fatigue, the low energy. I mean, those are the two biggest complaints, even though I don't necessarily treat, I'm not an internal medicine physician. I still need to learn a lot about your female patients if you're doing pelvic floor physical therapy. And it's usually the like libido, low energy, the fatigue, lack of mental clarity. Those things are usually the biggest warning signs. And then from a pelvic floor perspective, my high achieving women who have the biggest goals can't, slow down. They're usually stress balls and dealing with a lot of pelvic floor tension. And that shows up, with jaw pain because your jaw is connected through the fascia to your pelvic floor. So a lot of women with like TMJ pain or who get a lot of headaches, those sort of things will start to pop up as well when you start to neglect your health. Those are probably the most common things that I see all the time is that just like low energy and then a lot of the tension that truly develops from a physical standpoint.
Oh, I have so many questions now. I know you were thinking of me because I have jaw issues. So we'll take that offline. But,
yes.
Okay. So I love how you're so rooted in functional medicine. But I just would love for you to share with us, like, how do you stay grounded in science while also kind of having that bent toward functional medicine and also, running a scalable business?
I think when you realize that science is always evolving and changing, it's a lot easier to appreciate it and not get so focused on this is the one thing that has to be done and it's always going to be this way. I think I was that way in school, that this one research article says X, Y, and Z. And so that's the way it is and it's never going to change. But I think that when you start to realize that science can change based, whether it's the most recent trends of, I keep bringing up red light because I feel like every time I open my Instagram account, everyone's talking about red light therapy. But I feel like when you're open and willing to see how science can evolve, then it's a lot easier to appreciate the functional side of things. Because I kind of get put in this middle ground sometimes, like, okay, I do have my doctorate and everything that I put out there is evidence-based and research-based. But being a pelvic floor physical therapist, I am like a little bit on the woo-woo side. So it's like kind of a combo sometimes of marrying those two of like, okay, you can develop a lot of pelvic floor tension that might lead to leakage. And some of it might be calming down your nervous system because when your body is on this fight or flight, high alert mode, everything gets really tense and stressed and it can cause leakage. And, there's not necessarily a research article that's going to back that up because it's really hard to test, stress and leakage. But when you're willing to note that sometimes not everything is going to be black and white in the research, then you can kind of marry the woo-woo with still having evidence-based.
It's the perfect marriage.
It is. Let's be honest. Like woo-woo, I think most people realize woo-woo isn't woo-woo anymore.
No, it's not. It's like, it's a real thing. And the people who were made fun of for being woo, we owe them an apology, I think.
For sure. Yeah, I can attest to that. I remember my friend that was a little woo-woo and I thought, wow, this girl is woo-woo. And now I'm like, maybe I'm the one that's a little
yeah, you're like, am I the woo-woo one now?
For sure. All right, so let's talk about some of the big buzzwords in health right now. We hear a lot about cellular health. See, I didn't even say that right. Cellular health, right? Oxidative stress, antioxidants. Can you talk about what those can do with energy and how women perform on the daily?
Yeah, most of the time I will see that with low hormone production or, low hormone regulation because you might have overproduction of one type of hormone and underproduction of another. And typically it comes with a lot of increased production of estrogen. And that can lead to, once again, that increased cortisol, that fight or flight mode. That can affect your energy. And that's honestly what I see with a lot of women. Like I said, I'm not necessarily an internal medicine physician, but I do still talk with women in that sense. And And I didn't believe in, when I was in school, I was like, what do you mean cellular health? Like oxidative stress? Like that can't be as big of a deal as it actually is. And especially for women who are in the era of trying to conceive, that has a massive impact on your egg health. The ability to reduce free radicals and improve your ability to regulate your hormones has a massive impact on the health of your egg. And I don't think that a lot of people think about that, especially women, when they're thinking of outside factors of maybe why they're having struggles trying to conceive, or maybe why they're experiencing pelvic pain, or, PCOS or endometriosis. And so end of story, it does play a massive role that I think is not really appreciated.
Okay, so talk to us a little bit. Let's shift gears a little to business. I'd love for you to share like a decision that you made along the way that just was like a game changer that really made a big shift for you.
I think it was going out on my own and not working at a private practice anymore and being my own boss. Like I said, I didn't expect to own a business. When I put out my first course, Movement Through Pregnancy, it was truly just because I was pregnant. People were asking me, what workouts are you doing? Like, how are you not experiencing round ligament pain, pelvic pain, like low back pain? I thought pregnancy, like you're just in pain the whole time. Like, how are you doing this? And when I put it out there, my goal was just to cover daycare costs. Like I wanted to be able to continue working in my practice and cover my daycare costs. And I mean, did not anticipate the overwhelming growth that would happen in just a few short years. And I think leaving the practice I was a part of allowed me to make decisions that I needed to for my app and focus really a lot on connecting with more women other than one-on-one practice. And I do still treat a select few of women here in Nashville for one-on-one appointments to keep my hands fresh and keep the evidence, top of mind. But I think that was probably the biggest thing is I hung on to that group for so long because I was nervous of going out on my own and not having the protection of working for a business and having to be my own boss. But once I did that, the growth exploded, and realizing that, okay, I can do this. I know I didn't plan to do it, but it's needed. There's a need there, and we'll just see what happens. And that was the huge turning point for business.
Wow. And that's I feel like a question so many people wrestle with, like, should I make the leap? Like, should I jump and go out on my own? And I think when you have the courage and the boldness to do that, it like leaves space for this other creative side, where you can really serve people through the course and everything else you're doing. So it's amazing.
Yeah. And I love what you said when you said that you're still out working one-on-one with a select few to keep your skills fresh. So you're still, making sure you're relevant with what you're sharing with women. And I think that's one of the things that you have taken one-on-one to an online platform. And by the way, you've had a huge community. You've built this amazing community, well over 300,000 followers on Instagram, like 350. Isn't that right?
Yeah, it's somewhere around there. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's pretty impressive. And I think that's something so many women would love to aspire to. They have different skill sets, and they might have something they can share with women, but they know what they know in their day to day. But they're also looking to maybe do something that frees up their time a little bit more, or gives them the opportunity to travel or have something a little different. So tell us how you were able to look at monetizing your skill set without compromising the quality that you deliver, and then, how that looked for you.
Once again, I think knowing that my end goal wasn't how am I going to monetize this platform or become a big influencer or, have all this time off, because honestly, ever since owning a business, I've had less time off than I ever did working for a practice, because you're on all the time. And especially in a health and fitness business, you don't want to just trust it to anyone, because you want to make sure that what is getting put out there is actually credible. It's evidence-based, it's research-based. So I have my hand in every single thing that I put out there. So yeah, in terms of, I didn't think of I'm going to monetize this first. It was just, okay, what is the cost of a pelvic floor PT appointment if you were to work one-on-one with me? Okay, how can I, it's going to be a little bit more than this because it's a 40-week long program. What would be the equivalent technically of working with me for 40 straight weeks? And then from there, it's like, okay, so we'll make it a little bit more than one appointment with me because I want this to be affordable for women. I want it to be attainable because pelvic floor PT is in such high demand and there's not enough practitioners. So how can I just at least reach more people? And from there, just set a price and kind of moved on from it and didn't think twice about it. I think having the benchmark of knowing this is what I would normally, see a one-on-one appointment for someone really helped give perspective for women who were looking to purchase the program. Like, oh, okay, like I'm getting, a massive amount of value here. But I also think I didn't go into it first wanting to monetize. I know some people might grow their businesses if they're looking just for traditional social media platforms. Maybe they don't have their own product. And I think that I went into it not looking to monetize off of like links or, other people's products. I always wanted it to be my expertise first. And I think that's another reason that the loyalty and the community and the trust was really built first, because my end goal was I just want to reach as many people and women as possible with something with my knowledge versus I want to make X amount because I want to be able to travel the world with my child. And people really, they see that and they can see through kind of your motives on the internet. And I think that's why it's been so successful.
I love that. I think everything you've said this evening so far, you've woven in authenticity, people first. And then what I keep hearing in different ways is impact, how you can impact people. And I think that's huge.
Yeah. Okay. So what excites you about the future of your work, your platform, your community?
I want this just to be like the #1 pelvic floor fitness app for women out there. I have plans to expand it from beyond pregnancy and postpartum, mainly because I just keep getting pregnant. And so I can't move past that point right now.
I can identify with that.
I had these big plans to do a pelvic floor foundations course this week for women who aren't pregnant or postpartum. And then, oops, like baby number 3 is coming. So that has to get put on hold. But that's where I see this going, is the largest pelvic floor fitness app for women going through whatever stage of life they're going through, but specific for the pelvic floor, because so much of the fitness advice out there, especially for females, is not always specific or good for your pelvic floor. Like doing high intensity boot camp classes every single day is going to kill your adrenals. You're going to be low in energy. You're going to have super high cortisol, and that's going to affect your pelvic floor. And maybe it's going to contribute to more of your leakage or your prolapse or your diastasis or your painful intercourse. And so I think when you put the pelvic floor first and then build the fitness after, that's really how women will be able to continue staying active longer without feeling burnt out or like it's unachievable.
So good. So I think, you're mentioning health and how women have that constant need to, really work on things. So let's talk about that lady that might be goal getting. She has this big goal in mind. Maybe she's an entrepreneur, maybe she's in corporate, whatever that is. How does she go after that? What's your advice to her to go after that without sacrificing her health?
Think of the reason why you are doing something. I think if you can identify the reason of why, like what is your true reason for this goal? And if the reason behind your goal is motivated by something that you don't feel comfortable with in your day-to-day life, say it's like a monetary goal or a fame goal or a clout goal, it's not going to set well with you. And I think that will overflow into your health, into your day-to-day life. And I know that seems once again a little woo-woo. I told you I've kind of mixed the two, but I definitely feel that in order to achieve your goals with your health in mind, it needs to be something that sits well with you or something that you feel like you are better off for achieving or wanting that goal. Because if you're dealing with the stress of having to achieve a goal and you're not comfortable with the reason why, then that can affect you internally. It's going to increase your stress. It's going to increase that cortisol that we talked about. And so I think if you can feel comfortable with your goal, it'll be a lot easier for you to stay healthier, both physically and mentally.
Wow. It sounds like complete alignment is what you were really recommending. And
You're great at summarizing my words.
Oh,
yeah.
Exactly what I'm thinking just comes out of your mouth. It's perfect.
Oh, I love it. It's so good though. It's so true, right? Because if we don't feel good about things, then everything else just feels like it's falling apart. So that's such great advice.
Yeah. And those small attainable goals, like I said, 3-4 times a week is so much more manageable. And really that's what you need from like if we're going to talk about working out, a physical health standpoint like that. I think if you can realize that, 3 to 4 times a week is a great goal and it doesn't need to be every day, then there's room to work on your business and achieve whatever goals you are trying to achieve.
Yeah, I love it. Well, you've provided so much value today. So many great tips. I should be taking more notes, but luckily I can listen back again. It's just been wonderful. And I know it's our heart and desire to really be able to provide value and encouragement to women. And what do we say? A few great men that will listen to this show and just be able to bring them, tips and ways to be able to achieve their goals and run through the stuff that they care about, but do it in a way that's really healthy in all of the, physically, mentally, all the ways. So this has been amazing. So thank you so much for joining us. And let's just give her a hand.